Hello, VC. Plastic Eric here, Plastic Soundwave, for another episode of Collection Connection.
Hello, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Collection Connection, the game that's just an excuse to talk about records. If you want to know about how we play, about how you can play, check the description, and here we go. Let's see, in my brother's last video, he gave me Zephyr, which I listened to. Wasn't necessarily to my taste, but to each his own. What I noticed about it, what I looked up to make my connection, I had a suspicion, so I looked up his collection on Discogs, where we both have our entire collections logged, and Zephyr was alphabetically the very last listed album that he owns. And so my connection is my very last album, alphabetically on Discogs, which is from just 1 year earlier than Zephyr, and is the Zombies, Odyssey and Oracle. Now, I do have a copy of this, unfortunately, because we're doing some construction. I can't hold it up right now. It's in a box because the cabinet here behind me, my V through Z is overflow into a cabinet that needed moving for the construction. So I had to box up the contents. Sorry about that. But I do own it. Odyssey and Oracle is one of just a few of the, I don't own many albums from the 60s, other than the Beatles. I have maybe 10 albums. And so this was kind of a homework record, initially. The kind of thing that you hear a lot about, but think every so often I go through a patch of, you know what, I should own blah, 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 blah. And the Zombies, Odyssey and Oracle, when it came out in a remastered stereo, I think even, edition some time ago, I picked it up. And it's actually a great record. A lot of people know this. It's regarded as one of the classics now of the 60s, even though in its time it was completely overlooked because the band had already broken up before it even came out. And so they didn't support it, and the fact that Time of the Season, the big single from that album, hit in 1969, a year after the album was released and 2 years after it was recorded, was not enough to lure them back into playing together again. I think it's great, though. It sounds like super fresh. It's a great listen for someone who is not a huge fan of kind of the 60s, 70s sound aesthetic. It sounds like super fresh. It's a great listen just as a listen. Carousel 44 is a fantastic opening track. Makes me think of Madness almost in its lightness and the kind of the bouncy piano. And even though it's very pop and it's considered a psychedelic classic, it walks this strange line between sounding totally fresh and, it's got the complex Beach Boys vocal arrangements, but it also kind of sounds like a haunted Renaissance fair because of the sort of choir boy vocals of Colin Blunstone. And even though I think my favorite Zombies track, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe we had this on a 45 when we were kids, is She's Not There. And that was from their debut album, which appeared in a couple of different formats in the US and the UK as these things went in the 60s. And they had scored a couple big hits, and even though they kept recording and putting out singles and stuff, they kind of went dry on the charts. And so this Odyssey and Oracle was kind of recorded as a summation, like, okay, and we're done. We're going to wrap it up after this, which is why they had broken up before it was even released. But Rod Argent and Colin White, I think is the other guy's name, but mostly Rod Argent. Was a great songwriter. He was very adept with complex vocal arrangements. And all of the songs, Time of the Season, Carousel 44, are my favorites. But really, the whole album is a really solid listen, and it's very enjoyable. And I think I've run out of time with that. Yeah, so it was their second and only two albums released, at least as far in the UK and the US. But it's now regarded as an all-time classic. Makes top 100 lists of all time regularly, and it's a great listen. So I will pass along the Zombies, Odyssey and Oracle from 1968 to you for your response. And for everyone else, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.